Okay, it is 11 a.m. Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, and I will call this City of Lacey Transportation Committee meeting to order. It looks like we have a one-item agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'd move to approve the Transportation Committee agenda for June 7th, 2022.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes. We have an agenda. And with that, I will turn this meeting over to Martin, our transportation manager. Share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, once again, 6-year tip, the Transportation Improvement Program. This is a state and federal requirement. It's identified to show the public what we plan to work on in the next 6 years. The main purpose of the tip is to track state and federal grants and also list regionally significant projects. All projects must be consistent with the Transportation Comprehensive Plan. There are no new projects added this year, but I did make some modifications. College Street Corridor Phase 3. We applied for a federal grant a couple months ago. So what we did is we added the right-of-way and construction phase as a kind of a new project, or updated it for the total dollar amount that we submitted for. And the Willamette and Campus Glen roundabout, I kind of outsmarted myself. I don't know if you remember last year, TRPC had a contingency projects that they were thinking about on the redistribution list of projects. So we submitted Campus Glen, and I did not expect to get it, so I made it a separate project where we already had Willamette as a project. And lo and behold, we got the design grant for it. And so I just moved that down and kind of redistributed it to have the right of way construction in that. We are removing 4 projects. One, the electric vehicle charging stations. We opened bids last week. Wasn't great bids, but it looks like we're going to get some more money out of this. That's what I need to talk to the city manager about after the project.
Yeah, I briefed on this past Thursday. I didn't promise anything, but I did talk about a little bit about infrastructure and that it might happen.
We've been scrambling for the last couple of days trying to figure out what to do, and I think we got a plan now. So since that was obligated, that's really the thing, that one's going to go forward anyway. College Street Corridor Phase 4, I got that obligated for construction. We're going to start surveying probably later this year, and we'll hire a consultant next year, start the design. The other one we're moving is Campus Glen Roundabout because it was PE only. So I just removed that because it's obligated. And the citywide signal ITS detection upgrades, this is kind of an odd one, but Tumwater couldn't meet their obligation deadline for this year. So TRPC asked us if we could move ahead a year early, and we said we could. We're waiting on the city manager on that one right now, but he should have had the email probably about 2 hours ago.
When you say removed, do you mean removed or delayed or pushed back?
Sorry, what that means is that we obligated the funds, so we're allowed to spend it. So once it's obligated, from the state's point of view, we could start working on the project and spending that money. That's the important part.
Okay.
I'm getting a weird echo. My head.
No, it's
Has her hand.
sorry, Councilmember Vasquez.
Yeah, I wonder if we could change, because I had that same question. What does it mean that a project is being removed? Because those things look like they're things that we're doing. I wonder if we could rephrase how we list them on this summary sheet, like projects in motion or projects already approved or something. So it's clear that these are things we're doing. We don't have to keep talking about them because we've got the money and we're obligated to spend it. Something like that.
Yeah, I could come up with something on that.
We're just simple. Sure. I mean, yeah, your vernacular is very specific to,
Projects in progress.
yes. Yeah, whatever, something to help us understand.
Yeah, basically that means we've submitted all the paperwork to the state, they've approved it, and we're allowed to spend money on it. So under the TIP rules, basically, once the money's obligated, in their mind, you have to remove it from the TIP, is what it is.
Yeah, oh, okay, now that makes a lot of sense. Somehow it just clicked, thank you.
I'm here for you. And the only other thing is the traffic mitigation list. We aren't recommending any changes this year. I'm sorry, probably should spell down. We do have a tickler for early next year to look at these and see how much money we've collected, if we can remove some of these. But right now, we're just leaving it the same. And basically, I just put a little spreadsheet together. This is one that we've been running for 20 years. And so I take the next year and I just assume a construction cost index increase. And as soon as the July 1st publication, we'll just update that with the actual value. But from what I've been hearing, it's been around 8%.
Councilmember Vasquez.
For those of us that are newer council members and perhaps the folks at home, can you talk about what the titles of the columns on this spreadsheet mean? So I see that we've got mitigation, 90%, collection, percent of total. What do some of those things mean in layman's terms?
Basically, when we determined the traffic or started the mitigation, we had projects. So what we came down to is a cost per trip. So if a development comes in, we can calculate how many trips they're going to generate, where the cars are going to go. And this is how we assign traffic mitigation to the project. So this column here is the cost per trip, and it's determined by total cost. A consistent denominator basically is what we think the capacity of that corridor is going to be, or the project's going to be. So each car's value is basically the cost per trip. And so we were fair about it. How do I know how I can scroll on this? I'll go on the other side. So what we've done also is that we said, okay, development isn't responsible for all of the trips. So we took the existing volume and the remaining volume from the capacity. And new development is responsible for 90% of the difference between those two. So that's the maximum we could collect of the total project cost. And then it's just.
And Martin, if I can,
Sure.
the way we calculate it's way different than the county. And what about the other municipalities? Isn't that correct?
We do it differently than, well, we're the only people in the state that base it on the, what is it, the Transportation
Local
Act?
Transportation
Local
Act.
Transportation Act. Everybody else collects under GMA. We picked this one early on because when we were doing it, when we were talking to the developers, they thought this was a fair way of doing it. Where we can tie their project to the construction of these projects that are needed and come up with a cost per trip, where everybody else tends to just do a total dollar amount based on the size of the project. That makes sense?
Yep. Thanks for defining that.
So the way we do it is more tailored to individual projects and the real traffic that happens on the road where the project happens.
Correct.
And a more shared responsibility, right? I mean, it's not all or nothing.
Yeah, I think we developed this back in 97, 98, somewhere in there.
That's right.
Would you say that this method saves developers money?
I don't know, the county's been collecting more than us lately. It just depends on the project and where it is. Because sometimes they're right on the project, like if College Street, so they'll pay a proportionate share to College Street for each one of their trips. And if they have 100% of their trips going to College Street corridor, we have a cost for that.
Joy, you start with a traffic impact analysis.
Yep.
It computes the number of trips a new development generates, and part of that then is a traffic distribution that predicts where those trips go. And if a trip passes through one of these intersections, one of these project areas, then they receive that cost per trip. So it's the closest thing to real cost. If an agency has a program that would cost the developer less, it means some other taxpayer is subsidizing that cost. So this is
Exactly.
the fairest way, the fairest methodology.
Roger that. So when you say cost per trip, are you talking about over a duration of time, or are you talking about?
So total capacity of the interchange or intersection, but Roger, Martin, you want to elaborate?
It literally is the vehicle, the vehicles are distributed through what you call a TAZ, a transportation analysis zone. And as they pass through, if the vehicles distribute through the computer simulation, as they pass through and they actually touch an intersection that is on this list, then they trigger, a proportional cost to that. They pay a fee to that intersection. Again, this whole process using the Local Transportation Act required us to come up with a more scientific methodology than a lot of folks. A lot of folks historically just used the SEPA documentation and called it concurrency because it was just an easy way to do it. There wasn't a lot of thought process. This is a more mathematical model. Again, that's probably why we're I think we are the only one in the state that actually uses LTA to do this, but it's a very fair model because what really happens is the cost to upgrade an intersection, we know there's a range on each one of these is what the developers pay into it. And we know that range is somewhere between the total cost of the intersection will be about 28 to 33%. And it varies depending on the common denominator or the capacity of the intersection at the time when the program was started. So that's why developers supported it. They found it was fair and reasonable. We realized that we probably could secure a grant, either a federal grant, which as you know is basically the city's proportional share is 13%. And the Fed comes up at 86.5%, or a TIB grant, which is a 40-60 split. So we were really, on the mark because most of these projects are going to require grant dollars to actually build and create them. So that's how we arrived at this whole methodology.
If we increase the capacity of an intersection, we're thereby lowering the cost for developers that come through. Like when we increase the capacity of the college or the roundabout, increase capacity there.
Yes.
So okay.
Yeah,
Gotta be careful there because I've been having trouble with Tumwater on this one. College Street itself, it doesn't have any traffic control devices. So College Street itself go off the side streets and get onto College Street, which they can't do right now. So if you put a roundabout in the middle of a road that didn't have to stop before, it's not really a capacity improvement.
Okay, so let's use it. Then we would need to use a different intersection for that illustration.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, like the new diverging diamond, would that qualify?
Yeah, we have that one. We had that one on here too.
Yeah, we did. We took it. What happens is once the project is completed and we can recoup up to the maximum amount for traffic mitigation, we take them off the list. This list was substantially longer, but as the projects are completed and we collect the traffic mitigation for them, in other words, the developers pay their proportional share, then they come off the list.
Okay.
That's the methodology we use.
Okay, you guys, I don't know which one of you was first, so
Robin.
but please.
Just basic math question. Consistent denominator, is that monthly trips? What's the time frame that you estimate that's how many trips are going to happen?
The way our program works, we look at the PM peak hour. And so that's the capacity of that intersection in the PM peak hour. Yeah, we called it consistent denominator because it's kind of arguable. You could modify it and come up with a little more capacity here or there. So we said, okay, this is about the capacity of that intersection. This is a consistent denominator. So like the 3,500 is a 3-lane collector going with a 5-lane arterial. 2 arterials is 4,000, and then you get into like one-way streets and things like that, interchanges like the DDI, you have a higher capacity.
Which would be lower.
So it kind of takes that approach. We have it kind of broken up into 2 sections, kind of we do have a maximum cost per trip that we collect for. That's a little less than $1,500. And that's on the big projects that we kind of said, okay, we're not going to collect more than this amount. We could collect longer, but we don't want to have it, 1,000 trip cost for a development.
Let's let Mike go, and then I have one quick question about if it's an interjurisdictional intersection.
Yeah, it's good you brought that up, Martin, because I see a lot of 1483-37s for cost per trip. So I'm figuring that's the max. But my point is, wouldn't you agree? Because this is how I understand, or how I think when it comes to Lacey and other municipalities doing projects like this, is it's with us being more fair and more scientific and less subsidized, that it's more likely, or let's say it's less fair and less scientific and less subsidized, and it's more likely the project won't get done for a longer period of time, thus becoming more and more expensive and more responsibility on the developer. And really, in actuality, it's more of almost all the responsibility, when that's not fair, because it's already existed and there's other trips other than what that development is doing. That's the way I look at it. Would you guys agree? And it's probably, I also think that because we're more fair, more scientific, and more subsidized, that we get grants a lot more often in the competitive market of grants than other municipalities, because we're more responsible.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The main thing with the traffic mitigation is there's a thing called concurrency in GMA. That's a big one, that we have to have a project built within 6 years of approving a development, or we can't approve that project. So this way we have the ability to leverage development dollars, arterial street money with grants, so we could actually build those projects, and we track each TIA, or traffic impact analysis, on whether the intersection is getting close to meeting or failing or not, or meeting our level of service standard.
So Mike's question kind of ties into my question. So let's use the intersection at Carpenter and Martin as an example. Now, that one is not just us, right? That's also county.
Yes.
And so are we working with 2 separate models on the same intersection? Is one deferring to the other? I know that those people who annexed, they wanted to work with us on that project that's just down the road there, on that same street, visible from that intersection. So
that is a really good example, because we actually had to call concurrency on that intersection. And we struggled for about a year partnering with the county, and that's how we got Carpenter Road built.
The intersection, you ask a very good question on a very complicated intersection. The county's leg of Carpenter Road went into concurrency. So they had failure, and they couldn't allow any kind of movement forward as far as developers go, because they had concurrency, or the developer had to pay to correct the intersection. Right. We have the other legs. So what we did is we partnered with the county on the whole project, included the concurrency leg that was failing, and went forward and secured a TIB grant. And once we secured the grant, then the concurrency is removed, because we have the grant to upgrade the intersection. And that's the process but the timing was such that in fact, Winco was just chomping at the bit to get in there on the north side of Martin Way. And we were like racing to secure the grant, get this, this partnership together with the county so that we could raise the concurrency issue and allow Winco to go forward. So it was a county issue, but we were the lead agency as far as the partnership. So we put the grant together, got the partnership with the county in place, got the concurrency lifted, got to go forward with Winco.
I think Mike has
Yes.
something pretty serious about.
That's what I wanted to bring up then, when projects like that, who's the lead agency? Because, again, we tend to be more responsible with our dollars and our projects in timely fashion, stuff like that as compared to others. So we should be the lead, and you guys hear it from me when we're not, because I think we always should be compared to our neighbors.
Second. Please continue, Mark.
I'm done. I'm just happy to answer any
You know.
questions. Yeah, the only other thing, the public hearing is a planning commission tonight. And I'm expecting to bring this to the full council on July 21st.
All right.
If I may, I'd just like to say good job as usual.
July.
Scott, Roger, everybody, it's great. So you guys always do a great job, and so I always try to recognize that and give you guys praises, because you have to deal with the public a lot, and anytime there's construction, there's the headaches that come with them, and people want it done yesterday, and but they don't fund it for a long time. So it's kind of a battle, but you guys have a great team. Martin always seems to get those grants. You're amazing. So can never praise you enough for that, Martin.
I think you guys deserve a bigger butt. Myself.
I agree.
And I'll tell you, let me tell you my plan to get you some more money. We're gonna take the-
Scott's turn right now.
Let's invest in Great Coulee Park.
We're gonna take the Lacey boundary at College and Martin. We're gonna push it all the way up to Slate, past Slater Kenny. Okay, we're gonna take all that revenue that we were denied in the beginning, and then so, yeah, you guys.
Yeah,
That's my plan.
that's right. We refer to that as the finger.
But yeah, we're taking. That's the goal.
I'm sure our jurisdictional partners will be on board with that plan.
I'm gonna talk to Cheryl next Friday, and then put something together. Sure. But years ago, you guys probably know that, and he said he got real close. I think that area has been developed so much more greater that they're gonna have a harder letting go.
Yeah.
It's one of those pushes that I'm gonna partner with Scott on. So
Really would not like Mark Way and Slater Kenny. That's a really.
it's a tough one.
I don't like that
You don't want
intersection.
that? Okay, well, do we have anything further on this agenda item? From anyone else? No? Okay, well, with that,
Hey, other than the 2-hour extreme red tape delay from the city manager, 2 whole hours.
that's not, you got that.
I'm just messing with you, Scott.
Actually,
You
I've
said
got,
you got the email 2 hours ago. You should have been on that already.
I'll work on that. I have a meeting with the judge. So,
I could have a minute.
please.
So I want to recognize that Roger is retiring Friday. So remember we retirement celebration, but I want to thank Roger for all the phenomenal work that he did, as city engineer. Just incredible, amount of work, both public and private. And then also recognize that Aubrey is, selected to be the new city engineer. Will be replacing Roger. So-
Yay, Audrey.
So thank you to Roger. Congratulations to Aubrey.
Okay, do you want
Congrats.
the time and location?
Yeah.
For everybody who wants to know?
2 o'clock here at the council chambers.
Okay.
And, yes.
But tomorrow, 2 o'clock?
Friday.
2
Oh,
o'clock.
Friday. Okay. Hey, I did want to say something about the first time I met Roger. He got up to speak and he said, "Yeah, I'm Roger Sheshel, and it's also fun to say." And I started busting up, but honestly, working with Roger over the years has been nothing but fun and enjoyment. He makes engineering, which normally is boring and not too exciting. It's kind of like insurance seminars, but yeah. Anyways, I hope I made you laugh there a little bit, but enjoy your retirement, Roger. It's well deserved, and we appreciate you.
Right, Mike, did you just say that he's the kind of guy that makes you just want to say, hey, don't say anymore, I'll just give you the money. I can't do this.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Well, you have some big shoes to fill.
Just remember, he was in the army, okay?
Almost made it.
That's right. Well, if there's no further, we have reached the end of our agenda. And without any objection, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here.